Hello, hello, and welcome to today's Utah State women's basketball broadcast here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in. Aggie set to take on the UNLV Lady Rebels here starting in, going to tip off in about 15 minutes. I'm Jaden Johnson with the pregame call for you, and we'll have all the play-by-play here on Aggie Radio, your home of Utah State women's hoops this season. Utah State taking on a very good UNLV team today, a team that is coming in with a 6-7 record, but is much better than that 6-7 record shows. They've played just a ridiculous schedule, one of the toughest schedules in the nation out of conference, and then they're off to a strong start in conference. They're 1-1 in Mountain West play, but their first loss was a 9-point loss at Boise State. Boise State, the preseason favorite to win the Mountain West, a really solid basketball team there, and they kept it tight through the majority of that game. And then a 19-point win against San Jose State just last Saturday. That was 79-60 down at the Cox Pavilion in Las Vegas. So UNLV's feeling pretty good, I think, about what they've done so far this season. You know, they do have, on the season, they do have 7 losses, but those losses, again, to really good teams. They've played the likes of Stanford, Mississippi State, the number 3 team in the nation, Syracuse, Gonzaga. So, yeah, they've got a few losses, but none to really hang their head about. Utah State, on the flip side, coming off of a really tough loss against Fresno State last Wednesday. They were in Fresno, taking on a pretty talented Fresno State squad. Utah State led through almost the entire game, came right down to the wire. The Aggies put the best free throw shooter in the entire nation on the line in Candace White. She headed to the free throw line, knocked down a couple of shots. Aggies got the ball back with about 7 or 8 seconds to go and couldn't hit the game winner. The third time Utah State has lost this season on a last-second shot like that. Just a tough one where the Aggies feel like they should have won, feel like they should have come out on top, and by all means had every chance to do so. But, you know, that's just how it goes. And so Utah State coming in with a 3-11 overall record, 1-2 in Mountain West play. They can even that up, go to 2-2 on conference play if they capture a win today against UNLV. We're going to cut to a interview with Coach Jerry Finkbeiner. Coach Finkbeiner talks about that game against Fresno State and how tough it is to lose at the buzzer like that. You know, again, this is the third time the Aggies have done that this season, and so they've definitely gotten a little bit used to it. Coach, though, like a true professional, talks about all the other things that they could have done in that game. And then he talks about this UNLV team. It's a much different team than Utah State has seen this season, especially the last couple with Fresno State and with San Jose State. San Diego State. Those are much more outside three-point shooting teams, whereas UNLV, you're not going to see more than maybe 10, 15 three-point shots tops today. Much more ground and pound inside kind of team. So you hear Coach talk about that as well. Anyway, without further ado, this is a Coach Jerry Finkbeiner and a conversation we had just about an hour ago here at the arena. All right, Coach, thanks for joining me. Coming off obviously a heartbreaker against Fresno State, came right down to the buzzer. Back and forth kind of throughout the whole game. What do you say to your team in the locker room after that game, and how do you keep their spirits up?
Well, just kind of the theme is we haven't played it yet, other than maybe BYU game possibly, but in the San Diego State game home is a good effort, but 40 minutes of play. You know, we were 7 for 14, 7 for 15 from the free throw line over a period of 40 minutes. If we would have shot, 70%, which is very average, that might have been the difference of the game. So it's more than just the last second free throws that they made to win the game. And it's more than the last, literally a second shot we threw up to try to win the game. It went back to the first quarter, missing a couple free throws, a turnover here or there. I only had 2 turnovers the first half, 9 the second. So there was margin of error there that really was probably more the difference of the game than just the last play of the game.
So, of course, there are a lot of things throughout the game that could change, that would make it more than a 1-2 point game. But in all 3 of the really close one-possession games that you've had, it's been a buzzer beater going the other way. So how do you prepare your team for the next time that's the situation, and how do you keep their heads up after being on the wrong end of that 3 times in a row?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Their heads aren't down. That's one good thing. We got a good character team, a good goal set, even despite where we're at with our record on the season. But it's really before we've got situations. We practice situations in our practices, but again, it's more about playing 40 minutes. We have too many errors during the 40-minute game that we're literally shooting ourselves in the foot. Unforced turnovers, like I said, missed free throws. 1 for 15 from the 3-point line against Fresno. That's not going to be too many people. So there's so many things that we have to fix, clean up, / get better at before we really have to worry so much about last-second possessions, because last-second possessions, there's a little bit of luck involved. There's a little bit of chance involved. There's a referee may call a call you don't like, or may call you a call you do like. We got beat this year on a half-court bank shot. Those things you really can't control, and so situations can only go so far as being prepared for them. It's more about the 40-minute effort, the 40-minute style of play, the 40-minute game plan execution.
So Haley Bassett's been phenomenal the last 4 games. She's coming off a career high 22 points, 11 rebounds in the game against Fresno. Just tell me a little bit about her play as of late, and how do you try to utilize her in the offense and the defense of this team?
Well, a lot of it has to do with Haley now kind of becoming the player that we've always expected her to be. And it's just a matter of time, experience. She's still in the middle of her sophomore year, but she's becoming a go-to player. And so part of that transition is her teammates getting confidence in her. We as a staff have confidence that she can do some things offensively. Now that she's beginning to produce and in a more of a consistent way, now her teammates have more confidence in her. Now they're looking for her more, which is a key. So it's really that combined, do what you need to do, Haley, but at the same time, build the confidence of your teammates. So when you're open, they're going to try to get you the ball. That's probably the difference between a freshman and a sophomore that are good players. Their teammates begin to see it and begin to lean on it and have confidence in it. Where Haley's actually gotten better is behind the scenes. She's become a better defense player. She's really been a defensive liability for us, and that part of her game is getting better. That's allowing her to play more minutes, and now her offense is beginning to shine.
So UNLV is a much different style of team than the last 2, than San Diego State and Fresno, and that they like to get it inside a lot more. They don't shoot nearly as many threes. So what are the biggest adjustments that you make as far as like personnel, scheme, strategy go for a team like this?
Well, their shooting percentages are like ours, which isn't very good. So both teams, who's going to rebound, and that's one of the reasons we've been going into Haley lately more, because our outside shooting is letting us down. And so our stats almost across the board, percentages, are very similar to UNLV's. We're shooting more threes, but we're probably going to shoot less threes as the season progresses, because our percentages are just demand it to shoot less. But with them, we're going to try to pack it in a little bit defensively, make sure we block out. They have their best stat they have is they out-rebound their opponents by 5, and that's a good stat on the season. They've had a very tough schedule, so their record's deceiving. I looked at them as one of the favorites when the season started to win the conference. Their point guard has been out the last 2 or 3 games. I think she may not play today, but if she does, then they're a different team. Their point guard is very athletic, very fast, pushes the ball hard. When she doesn't play, they're basically, not playing the true point guard on the floor, so it slows them down a little bit. So we have to kind of be ready, kind of a 2-pronged approach mentally and game plan wise. Is this kid playing? Her last name's Wheatley, or is she not? And so we'll go from there.
So a lot of history between these 2 teams. Played 3 times last year. Obviously the overtime game down there, the win up here, and then the conference tournament where they came out on top. So do you look at those games from last year, or is it all about what they've done this year as far as your game plan for today?
It's a little bit of both. I think they could probably say the same thing. We kind of almost a little bit of a rivalry to a certain degree. Geographically, we're similar parts of the Mountain West Conference. We've had some very close games in the last 3 or 4 years. Last year, very good split, and then the last play of the game, really last year at our place that we won, Eliza West broke her hand, and that was kind of the difference of the game in the tournament about a week and a half later. So really evenly matched up last year. I think when I look at their team this year, they lost a couple of good players, but they've had a couple of good players in the wings with redshirt and transfer and just maturing. So, again, I give all the respect in the world to UNLV. I think they're right there with New Mexico and Colorado State and Boise State at the end of the season. And but we could hurt that plan if we can beat them today at home.
All right, Coach. Thanks for the time. Good luck today.
Thanks, Jaden.
So that was Coach Jerry Finkbeiner, head coach of the Aggies, talking about today's matchup with UNLV. As I mentioned, UNLV, a much more ground and pound kind of team, a little bit different than the past few teams Utah State has seen. It should be really interesting to see how they adjust to that, to see how they play against a team with so much height and a team that likes to get it inside the perimeter. I found it really interesting to hear Coach Finkbeiner there say that Utah State is going to be much more of that kind of team themselves going forward this season, as they've just really struggled from the three-point line all year. Especially, that it's just epitomized in the game against Fresno State, where they shot 1 of 15. They had a game earlier this season when they played Oregon State. They went on they missed 20 straight. They started 1 of 21 from the three-point line in that game. And I just think that if you're Coach Finkbeiner, if you're the Aggies, you're sitting here, you're 3-11. You're going to adjust to what your strengths are. You're going to adjust to the teams that you're playing, because you're desperate for any sort of a win, any sort of a positive that you can get from this season. And, I don't have any problem with that, to say we're going to scrap our game plan. We're going to become a much more inside-heavy team. I think that's a big part of the resurgence of Haley Bassett and why she's done so well the last little while for the Aggies, as we heard Coach talk about there. And I think that she will be a really, really big piece of this game today for Utah State. It will be interesting to see how they do, like what kind of offense they're running, how they defend UNLV. Once you can push UNLV outside, make them shoot from outside, they're really not a great shooting team. From three-point line, they rank 319th in the country, last in the conference with 25.8 percentage from the three-point line. Even inside, they're not that great, 37.6% shooting overall from the field. And if you're the Aggies, those are the two numbers you really have to look at defensively and say, let's just make them, keep them outside the paint, and you're going to beat them. If you can keep them outside of the paint, you can beat them. We'll look a little bit more into the numbers of what makes UNLV such a good team. As we heard Coach talk about there, he thinks that they're one of the top in the conference. I tend to agree with him. But we'll talk a little bit more about what makes them so good, what to expect today from them, who to watch, and we'll have starting lineups for you here in just a moment. We'll come back after a quick break. Thanks for tuning in to Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. All right, welcome on back. Today's broadcast of Utah State Women's Hoops. Aggies set to take on UNLV here in just a few moments. Thanks for tuning in to Aggie Radio, and welcome in to those listening via Mountain West Network. I'm Jaden Johnson on the call. It's cold and nasty outside, but it's warm in the Spectrum as we get ready for this matchup. Really good matchup on paper between Utah State and UNLV. These teams played 3 times last season, split the series in the regular season, and then UNLV knocked the Aggies out of the postseason in the Mountain West tournament down in Vegas. So a little bit of revenge to look for from Utah State, and they would love to do so. Give their coach, it's Jerry Finkbinder's birthday today, so trying to give him a birthday present, and Rachel Brewster's birthday as well. So a couple of reasons to celebrate for the Aggies. They'd love to add a win to that as well. As we go over starting lineups now, UNLV's were already read off, so we'll start with them. UNLV is going to start with Brooke Johnson, the senior guard from Hanford, California. Number 3, Paris Strother, the junior forward from Las Vegas, Nevada. Number 20, Alyssa Anderson, the junior forward from Rancho Cucamonga, California. Katie Powell, the junior center out of Atlanta, Georgia. And Jordan Bell, the junior forward from Elk Grove, California. Utah State, on the flip side, starting with number 1, Eliza West, the sophomore guard from Mount Martha, Australia. Number 5, Shannon Duffesey, the sophomore forward from Preston, Australia. Number 11, Lindsey Jensen, making her second career start, the redshirt sophomore guard from Smithfield, Utah. Haley Bassett, the sophomore forward from Layton, Utah. And Rachel Brewster, the junior guard from Melbourne, Australia, on her birthday, back in the starting lineup for Utah State. Should be a good one. Aggies coming in 3-11, UNLV 6-7, though I strongly believe they are better than that record shows. The Rebels have played the 24th toughest non-conference schedule out of any team in the nation. A lot of really tough teams they've faced off against. I think they're better than that 6-7 record. They're 1-1 in the Mountain West play after starting things off with a loss to the preseason conference favorites, Boise State. That was a 9-point loss in Boise, and then a 19-point loss or win against San Jose State. We're underway. UNLV wins the tip, and we are in action here at the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum. Right off the bat, Katie Powell shoots a 3 top of the arc. That won't fall. That is uncharacteristic. You're not going to see many threes from UNLV today, but they're starting off outside the arc. Aggies grab the rebound, have their first possession, looking for the first points of the game. Duffesey has it, top of the arc. She works over to the left, guarded by Powell up high, passes over to Bassett. Bassett brings it up top, hands it back to Eliza West. Eliza dribbles in, gets up towards the baseline, kicks it out, left corner 3, up and good. Shannon Duffesey gets the Aggies on the board, up 3-0 to start things out. Great start for Utah State. Back the other way, UNLV has Alyssa Anderson driving in, gets up towards the block, then kicks it out, tip out to the corner. Strother dumps it in, finds Powell. Powell up strong, won't go too much on it, and rebound after being tipped around a bit goes to Utah State. Haley Bassett comes away with it. Jensen kicks it out to the corner for Brewster, decides to reset things up top, back to Eliza. Eliza working against Johnson. Passes back over to Brewster, gets the screen from Bassett, doesn't use it, double teamed. Kicks it over, right corner, 3 up. Jensen good off the board. Lindsey Jensen in her second career start puts Utah State up 6-0, the local sophomore guard. UNLV has it. Alyssa Anderson working over, hands it off to Brooke Johnson. Johnson gets into the paint, kicks it out, left corner, thought about a 3 from Powell. Instead, she's going to drive in. Powell up and strong move, puts it in for UNLV's first bucket of the night. Powell, the junior center from Atlanta, Georgia, 6'4" and plays like a very strong player for UNLV. Back the other way, Brewster gets up to the baseline, puts it up from 15, won't fall too much, and UNLV comes down with it. Strother with the rebound. Back in transition, quickly driving towards the hoop as UNLV, they go up, and Bell is fouled. No, they're going to say offensive foul. Bell called for the charge, and a good job by Utah State to draw it there. So it's going to be a turnover, and Utah State will regain it up 6-2, 7:43 to go in the first. A little bit of full court pressure from UNLV, but they break it by passing up to Bassett. Bassett works up. She's blocked hard under the rim. Katie Powell just swatted it out of there. And good move from Bassett, but just not enough there. Strong inside presence as always for UNLV. They're such a good inside team. Aggies have it on the inbound from the baseline. Liza has it up top, 18 on the shot clock. Gets it into Bassett. Bassett turns around. She's guarded tightly by Powell. Kicks it out right corner for Jensen. Jensen drives up the baseline, tries to pass it away. It's stolen, and then a jump ball forced. Anderson came down with it, and then Jensen jumped in to get her hands on it, and that's going to stay in Utah State possession. Arrow points their way. So the shot clock right now shows 30. They're going to reset it back down to 10, though, as it will just stay in Utah State possession. That doesn't clear the clock. So Aggie inbound from the baseline. Brewster gets it into Duffy. Duffy works up the baseline, tries to put it up, blocked. Puts it up a second time. That's too much on it. Good defense by Paris Strother, the junior forward, getting her hand on it and denying it. UNLV takes back over, down 6-2. Anderson tries to dump it in. Whistle blows. Not sure what the call there was, but it's going to go against Haley Bassett. I think just a little bit of contact under the rim. So Haley Bassett will pick up her first. Bassett has just been phenomenal for Utah State as of late. Over the last 4 games, averaging 16.3 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 69% field goal percentage. Rebels get it in, and it goes to Katie Powell, and then a foul called as Eliza West tried to wrestle it away from her. So another team foul called on Utah State, their second, and with 7:01 to go, UNLV will inbound from the side. Alyssa Anderson to inbound for the Lady Rebels. Gets it into Powell up high. Powell back towards midcourt to Brooke Johnson. Brooke Johnson, a senior guard. She was all Mountain West honorable mention before the season started. Paris Strother goes driving in. She's fouled on the way up, so she'll head to the line for a couple. That foul going to go against Haley Bassett. So a second foul early on for Haley Bassett. She's going to check out here in just a minute as Deja Mason's set to go in. Such a key part to Utah State's game today, I think, is Haley Bassett. She's going to be big. And going to the bench early, not a good thing for the Aggies. Strother's first free throw up and good. She's a 73% free throw shooter. Junior from Vegas. Stayed home to play basketball. She's got one more coming up to Liberty High School. She knocks down the second, and that brings UNLV back within 2. 6-4, Utah State leads, 6:48 to go in the first. Liza West gets it. She works off the screen from Mason. Mason over to Jensen in the right wing. Jensen driving up, blocked. Another block by UNLV, and this is going to go back to the Lady Rebels. But they can't keep it in bounds. Katie Powell went diving, tipped it right back to Mason, and Utah State going to get another shot. 7 on the shot clock, though, as it never hit the rim. And then driving in, Eliza West traveled before she could pass it. So a turnover for Utah State there, their first of the game. Neither team shooting very well so far. Utah State 2 of 7, UNLV 1 of 3, so a lot more opportunities for the Aggies, but they're just unable to take advantage of it. And UNLV is back in possession. They can tie things up with a deuce here. Jordan Bell passes off to Strother. Strother all around the outside of the arc. UNLV goes. They dump it into Powell. And Powell works her arms up and around and walks as she tries to get in towards the basket. So another turnover there for the Lady Rebels. Utah State takes over. For the Aggies, Victoria Price has checked in. She started the last couple of games for the Aggies and just been phenomenal in those starts. Coming off the bench today, Utah State just changing it up a little bit. Olivia West passes over to the corner for Shannon Duffy. West, the leading scorer for the Aggies this season, 15.5 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists per game. Duffy dumps it in, finds Mason. Mason thought about going up, so then kicks it out. Left wing, 3 up from Brewster, won't go. And then over the back, foul called on Deja Mason. Mason went up for the rebound, got too much contact, came up over the back, and the officials are going to get that every time. So Utah State, less than halfway into the first quarter, 5:41 still to go, already has 4 fouls, and they are getting dangerously close to the bonus early on. 6-4 Aggie lead. Utah State hasn't scored in a while, though. 5:35 to go. It's been over 3 minutes since Utah State has scored, and they're 0 of 6 on their last 6 shots. Driving in, it's poked away as Brooke Johnson couldn't contain it, and then back the other way, lay in up, no good from Olivia West, but Utah State comes back down with it. Victoria Price with the offensive board. She resets it out to Duffy up top. Duffy over to West on the right wing. Back up to Duffy. Fresh shot clock for the Aggies, 20 to go. And Duffy passed it over but walked before she did so, according to the officials. So that is going to be another turnover on Utah State, an unforced error there. And Utah State extends that scoring drought, now almost 3.5 minutes since their last points. A lot of sloppy basketball so far. 3 turnovers for the Rebels, 2 for the Aggies. Johnson kicks over to the left wing for Shepard, back up to Johnson, back to Shepard. She gets it into Powell on the baseline. Powell, nice pass over to Bell, back up top. 3 goes up. Johnson, no good, and rebound from Deja Mason. Brooke Johnson, again, all Mountain West honorable mention last season, all defense team last season. I think she should have been on the all-conference team before the season started. I voted for her, but just a phenomenal player for UNLV. Watch out for her today. Aggie ball. Victoria Price driving in, gets up towards the basket, puts it up with the right hand. Too much on it. Rebound from Alyssa Anderson. Utah State now 0 of 8 on their last 8 shots. Just can't get anything to fall. Back the other way, though. Olivia West doing a good job to create some contact and draws a foul. That didn't see who they tagged it on, but foul goes against UNLV, and it's going to be Utah State ball after this timeout. Players head back to the huddle for a media timeout. 4:18 to go. Utah State leading 6-4. We'll cut out for just a moment and be right back. And welcome on back. Utah State taking on the UNLV Lady Rebels. Utah State leading early 6-4, despite not scoring in the last 4 minutes and 16 seconds and missing their last 8 shots. Utah State still somehow leads. UNLV just really unproductive so far offensively, shooting 1 of 4 from the field. I mean, they've only taken 4 shots in nearly 6 minutes of play, and that's largely due to 4 turnovers early on. So the Aggie defense doing a good job, but I mean, this is a game that if you're Utah State right now, you feel like you should be up 14-4. You feel like you should be up 10 points by now. But the Aggies shooting 2 of 10 from the field so far, and that's really costing them. Anyway, we're just about to get back at it. This UNLV team, it's a team that you're going to see drive in a lot. They don't shoot many three-pointers this season. They're shooting just 25.8% from the three-point line. That's 319th in the country out of 345 teams, last in the conference. They only make about 4.5 per game. We're back at it. Utah State starting out of the timeout. But Utah State seeing a much different team than they've seen recently. Olivia West drives up the baseline, puts too much on it, and UNLV comes down with the board. Aggies now 2 of 11. Horrible start for the Aggies offensively. But back the other way, Wharton has it out on the right wing, kicks it up top to Powell. Powell, another 3, no good, too much on it. Wharton comes down with the offensive board, though, and UNLV going to get another shot. So UNLV back around the outside. Wharton gets it in, or I'm sorry, Johnson gets it in the right corner, drives up, gets into the paint, kicks it back out right wing for Shepard. Shepard dumps it in, looking for Strother, and it's out of bounds. Official's going to say off of UNLV. So another good defensive stop for the Aggies. UNLV's only scored 4 points in 7.5 minutes. I'm sorry, 6.5 minutes. 3:25 to go. And on the flip side though, Aggies only with 6. Utah State has missed their last 9 now. 9 straight misses from the field after starting 2 of 2. Olivia West has it in the left wing. Dumps it into Mason. Mason into Duffy. Duffy double teamed, arms up, and foul drawn by UNLV. Offensive foul going to go against Duffy. She got her elbow around and knocked down Jordan Bell, so good heads-up play on the block by the Lady Rebels. And that's going to be another turnover. 5 turnovers for the Rebels, 3 for the Aggies. Back the other way. Strother gets it, puts it up from the block, and just didn't hit anything. An air ball on the short shot. And I think she was expecting some contact, didn't get it, and that just threw her off. So it goes back to Utah State. Liza West, top of the arc, passes over to Olivia, left wing. Olivia into Duffy on the baseline. Every time Duffy gets down there, she's double teamed so far. Price in the corner, tries to get in Mason, tipped away though by Johnson. Johnson comes away with the steal and then walks, so a turnover. She did a good job to steal it back for UNLV before turning it over. And just sloppy all around for each team here. I mean, you got less than 3 minutes to go and it's 6-4. Whichever team starts to make a few shots could just pull away with this one. Liza gets into the paint, kicks it back out to Duffy. Duffy works up, passes it out to Mason. Mason back up to Duffy up top. Into Olivia. Olivia going to try and drive in. Had it poked away a little bit. She's going to kick it back out to Eliza, top of the arc. Eliza has the screen from Mason, doesn't use it. Instead, Mason rolls in. Mason puts up the lane, won't go. And that's going to go out of bounds off of Utah State. 10 straight misses from the field for Utah State. And it goes back to the Rebels. Brooke Johnson brings it across midcourt. She's guarded up top by Price. Passes over to Strother. Strother hands it back up to Anderson, and another turnover. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, another turnover. That's going to be an offensive foul called on Strother. Paris Strother picking up the 3rd team foul for the Lady Rebels. That is her first personal. So 2 minutes to go, and it's 6-4. Utah State hasn't scored in 6.5 minutes and still leads. Passes over to Duffy. Duffy back over to Eliza West on the right wing. West going to drive up to the baseline, put it up left-hander. Doesn't go. Eliza grabs her own board, pass out to Olivia, top of the arc, 3 no good, and out of bounds. This is almost comical at this point. Utah State has a lid on the basket, missed 12 straight. A lot of those looking really good. I mean, you've had a few nice inside looks, but just unable to connect. So back to UNLV ball. They're going to inbound from their own backcourt. Inbound goes to Johnson. Johnson passes it up to Anderson, right wing. Over to the left wing for Bell. Back up top to Johnson. Johnson over to the left wing. Back for Bell. Bell over to the right wing. Thought about a 3 from Anderson. Said she's going to drive in, give it to Powell. Powell fouled on the way up. And could this finally mean some points? Foul is called on Deja Mason. And for the first time in 5 minutes and 11 seconds, we might have some points, ladies and gentlemen. 6-4 with 1:21 to go in the first. And Katie Powell heading to the free throw line. Powell gets it to go. Had a moment of doubt there for a second, but it fell, and it's 6-5 now, Utah State. Powell, the junior from Atlanta, Georgia. She transferred from Arkansas. She hits the second as well. She's second on the team in points per game and leads the team in rebounds per game with 9.4. So tied up at 6. Liza West has it. She's working up against Jordan Bell. Gets a screen from Mason. Passes over to Duffy. Duffy on the right wing. Tries to pass it into Price. It's tipped away. Back to Mason. Utah State lucky to hold on to it there. Olivia has it in the left corner, driving in, passes it back up top to Eliza. Eliza 4 on the shot clock, spins around, working in. It's not even going to get a shot. And travel called as she tries to get in. UNLV just suffocating the paint right now, not letting anything inside. And that's bad news for Utah State, a team that has really struggled from shooting outside really this entire season. 45 seconds to go. It's tied 6 apiece. UNLV ball. Jordan Bell passes it over all around the arc. Left corner now. Anderson has it. Gets into Powell. Powell left elbow. Won't go on the jumper. Deja Mason comes down with the board. And Eliza going to bring it across midcourt. We got about 2.5 seconds between shot and game clock, so Utah State will likely run this down towards the end. We'll see if they can finally break this scoring drought. It's been over 8 minutes since Utah State has scored a single point. and it's tied up 6 apiece. Olivia brings it up, driving in, kicks it out, left corner 3, up, Duffy knocks it down, and Utah State breaks the run. They missed 12 straight before that, and Shannon Duffy going to put them up heading into the break. 9-6. I've never seen a game where a team didn't score for 8.5 minutes in the first quarter and still led after that quarter. But welcome to the Mountain West, ladies and gentlemen. Utah State up 9-6 after 1 quarter. We're going to cut out to a break and be back in just a moment with the second here from the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum in Logan. All right, thanks for tuning in to Utah State Women's Hoops here on your home of Aggie Women's Sports, Aggie Radio in Cache Valley, AggieRadio.com, and the Mountain West Network. Probably the ugliest first quarter basketball I've ever seen in my entire life between Utah State and UNLV. 7 turnovers for the Lady Rebels, 5 for the Aggies. Utah State shot 3 of 15. UNLV shot 1 of 8. Utah State went on a 8.5-minute scoring drought and yet leads this game after 1 quarter, 9-6. Shannon Duffy, the hero at the end to break that streak. Shannon Duffy has 6 of the 9 points for the Aggies, both of those coming on 3-point field goals. Interestingly enough, Duffy has kind of struggled from outside the arc this season, only 19% 3-point shooter on quite a few attempts this season, but 2 of 2 today, and that's what gives the Utah State the lead. UNLV inbounds, and Johnson has it. She kicks it over to Anderson. Anderson over to Bell. Bell on the left wing, gets it into Powell. Powell working into the paint, guarded by Mason, poked away, stolen by Victoria Price. She's going to have a fast break opportunity. One-on-one, she gets around, beautiful move to spin around and put it up, and Utah State out to an 11-6 lead. Quick points here in the second quarter. Powell back the other way, kicks it out to Anderson. Anderson left wing now, guarded by Price. Gives it up to Bell. Bell at the top of the arc. Looking for the screen, gets it from Strother. Gets up towards the elbow, kicks it back out to Johnson. Johnson over to the left wing. 3 up, no good from Strother. And then a rebound, fought for, and then foul called on UNLV. So Utah State going to get it. That's going to go, I believe they said, on Jordan Bell. That is either way the first team foul for UNLV this quarter. And Utah State going to take it back. Taylor Franson is checked in for her first action of the night. The freshman, they're going to say the foul on Anderson, so my apologies, Alyssa Anderson with that one. But Franson getting her first action of the game. Freshman from American Fork, Utah. She passes it over to Brewster. Brewster working off a screen on the right wing, gives it up to Mason up top. Back over to the right corner. Working up the baseline is Brewster. Her shot too short, won't go from about 5, and UNLV with the board. UNLV's such a good rebounding team. They out-rebound teams by about 5 per game. That even with an incredibly tough schedule. But working in a block by Taylor Franson as Alyssa Anderson gets up towards the baseline, puts it up with the lefty, and Utah State comes back with it. Taylor Franson getting some early on minutes in this game, making the most of it. Brewster kicks it over, Franson in the corner. Back up top to Olivia. Olivia going to drive in, get up to the paint, put it up. No good. Franson with the offensive board. Kicks it out right wing. 3 good from Victoria Price. Utah State feeling much better this quarter. And with 8:09 to go in the second quarter, they lead 13-6. It's been all Aggies so far here in the second. UNLV has it. They kick it over to the right corner for Anderson. Anderson dumps it in, gets it up to Strother. Strother spinning around. A lot of pressure, and it's poked out of bounds. Good job by Victoria Price to force that out. It will be UNLV ball, inbound from the baseline. But Utah State, good defensive effort. Holding UNLV to still just 6 points. So baseline inbound from the Rebels. Straight in, right under the basket to Wade, who tries to put it up. It's blocked. She gets it back, though, and then puts it up again. This time she's fouled. So free throws coming. Foul called on Taylor Franson. And that's going to send, actually it's going to be Strother heading to the line. So Paris Strother going to get a couple of opportunities here. Strother, she's coming off an 18-point, 11-rebound game against San Jose State. She knocks down the first. She's averaging about 7.8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds. She's a 73% free throw shooter and knocks down the second as well. So 13-8 now the Utah State lead, 7:50 to go in the second. Victoria Price in at point guard now for the Aggies. Price has started the last couple of games at guard, this time coming off the bench. She's been phenomenal for them, though, in the last couple of games. She brings it up, kicks it out right for Olivia West, back up to Price. Price back to West on the right wing. Guarded tightly by Anderson, gets the screen from Franson. Goes deflected, I believe, off of Utah State into the backcourt. Scuffle for it as four players on the floor fighting for it. Not sure, I believe they're just going to call that a jump, which would go back to Utah State if that's the case. Yes, that is the case. So it's tipped into the backcourt. A bunch of players fought for it, and Utah State at the end going to inbound it from the backcourt with 4 seconds on the shot clock. Franson inbounds it towards the front court for Brewster. Beautiful play. Brewster shoots the three, knocks it down. What a play there for Utah State and Rachel Brewster. Happy birthday. 3 points on the board to put Utah State up 16-8. After that foul called on Victoria Price in the backcourt. Victoria Price just got tangled up going for the steal, so it will be her first foul, and UNLV gets it back. Anderson has it, goes up to Johnson. Johnson to Powell, and it's stolen away. Brewster with the fast hand stealing Powell's pass. She's going to take it coast to coast, put it up, fouled, and she'll head to the free throw line. Rachel Brewster making a big effort here in the second quarter. Brewster's season has been up and down. She's had explosive games. She's gone for 20+, but the last few games really just kind of struggling from the field. 2 of 12 against Fresno, but she's just such a phenomenal player. You know she's going to snap out of it. And she's been big for Utah State so far. Here on her birthday, she knocks down the first free throw, has one more coming, 17-8, the Utah State lead. Brewster looking for her 5th point, and she gets it. She's been solid from the free throw line all season, 83% from the free throw line. And that number just went up with a couple more. 7 minutes to go in the second, Utah State up by 10. Out in the corner, Anderson has it. Gets it back up all around the arc. UNLV goes. Johnson has it right wing. Works off the screen from Powell. Sends it back out up top to Bell. Bell working in. Blocked by Deja Mason. Mason leading the Mountain West Conference in blocks, and she gets another. Back the other way. Shot goes up from 10. Won't go from Brewster. And rebound fought for by Franson, but it goes out of bounds off of the Aggies. Lady Rebels to take back over in the backcourt. A couple of substitutions coming for Utah State, 3 to be exact, as Eliza West, Shannon Duffy, and Haley Bassett checking back in for Franson, Brewster, and Mason. So a lot of new faces out there for the Aggies, 6:36 to go in the second. Fresh legs, though. UNLV, a team that is not going to go very deep. This is a team that plays 7, maybe 8 players most nights. You're going to see a lot of minutes out of their starters. This season so far, Johnson's averaging 38 minutes per game. Bell with 31, Powell with 29, so not a very deep team, or at least they don't use their depth much. Johnson has it in the right wing. She dumps it in, gets it into Bell. Bell out to the left corner, 3 up, and falls after a bounce. Alyssa Anderson gets on the board for UNLV, her first bucket, and that's the first 3 that has fallen for the Lady Rebels. Liza has it, passes it over, finds Duffy. Duffy over to Olivia West on the left wing. Screen set by Duffy. She's going to pass over to Bassett, top of the arc. Bassett over to Price on the right wing. Then Price goes off it. Beautiful lane right into the basket. Puts it up with the right-hander and goes. Utah State up 20-11. Good read on the defense by Victoria Price there. Jordan Bell back the other way. Powell thought about a three, instead kicks it over, finds Johnson. Johnson left wing, back into Powell, or Strother, back out. Three goes up and good from Brooke Johnson. Brooke Johnson keeping UNLV in it, 20-14. I mean, of course, it's too early for either team to pull away, but certainly helping out their hopes there. Victoria Price gives it over to Duffy. Duffy, left corner. Three goes up. She's 2 of 2, now 2 of 3 as that one won't fall. And rebound from Brooke Johnson. Bringing it back across midcourt. Bell has it. Back up to Johnson into Powell. Tipped, and that's going to go out of bounds off of Utah State. Didn't see which Aggie got their fingertips on it, but good job to deflect it out of bounds. So baseline inbound coming from Johnson. .507 to go. 20-14. Utah State lead. Inbound goes to Bell. Bell on the left wing. Back up to Johnson to reset at 18 on the shot clock. Johnson over the right corner. Three up and no good from Alyssa Anderson. Duffy comes down with it. Duffy leading Utah State in the rebound category. Back the other way. Price going to drive up the baseline and foul called. I believe that's a defensive foul. Yes, it is. So that's going to send Victoria Price to the free throw line as Katie Powell picks up her first. Yes, her first, and that is the third for UNLV. Media timeout as we're just under 5 minutes. Utah State will be at the line with Victoria Price shooting a couple as we come back, but Utah State up 20-14, 4:51 to go. And welcome on back. Dee Glen Smith Spectrum, Utah State women's hoops leading UNLV 20-14 with 4:51 to go on the second. Leading the way for Utah State, Shannon Duffy with 6 and Victoria Price with 6 as well. For the Rebels, 4 apiece for Strother and Powell. These two teams very familiar with one another. Last season they played each other 3 times. Split the season series. The first game, the infamous game down at UNLV that 4 players from each side were ejected after a brawl that went to overtime. Utah State dropped it by a point in overtime. 2 points, 55-53. Later on at USU, Utah State won 58-49, and then the Aggies were knocked out of the tournament by UNLV 68-43 in an ugly game for Utah State down in Vegas. We're back at it, and the first free throw from Victoria Price is good. She's got one more coming. Price with the second, no good, and rebound from Paris Strother. Utah State leading the rebounding category 16-14. A little surprising as Utah State's really struggled to rebound the ball this season, and UNLV, that's really what they do best. So good effort from Utah State so far. Back the other way, Powell spins around, puts up a strong move. That won't go. Offensive board grab by Bell. Well, that won't go. Powell grabs the offensive board again and puts it up. And right once I say that Utah State is doing well in the rebounding category, that happens. 2 offensive boards and a bucket for UNLV. 21-16, the Aggie lead, 4:18 to play. Bassett has it, screen set by West, and she passes it back to West. Eliza driving in, kicks it out left corner, thought about a 3 from Duffy. She's shot 3 from there already. Instead, she passes it up top for Eliza. 9 on the shot clock. Aggies need something quick. Screen from Bassett. She passes it back over to Bassett. Bassett, top of the arc, kicks it over, right wing, 3, up. No good from Victoria Price. Rebound to UNLV. Brooke Johnson lost her shoe, but gets it back on quickly to come back the other way in transition. Powell kicks it over to Anderson on the left wing. Anderson guarded by Eliza. Back up top to Bell. Bell over to Johnson, right wing. She's going to bring it up top. Kicks it over to the left to Anderson. Anderson gets up to the free throw line, dumps it in, finds Strother under the basket, puts it up strong, won't go. Offensive board, though, and then a foul called as she tries to go back up. I believe that's going to go on Duffy. No, they're going to say on Haley Bassett. That's interesting because Haley Bassett had her arms up straight. In my eyes, had her arms up straight, and then Duffy kind of swooped in. I thought the foul was going to go on her. But that's very costly for Utah State because that is the third for Haley Bassett. So free throw, first one good from Paris Strother. She's got one more. Deja Mason coming in to replace Haley Bassett. Try and keep her out of foul trouble. One more coming. 21-17 is the Utah State lead. And the second shot tightens that up, 21-18 now, as Strother knocks down the second. Liza brings it across midcourt for Utah State. She kicks it over, baseline jumper from Duffy, no good from 15, and rebound from Brooke Johnson. UNLV pounding the boards now. 3 from Anderson, doesn't take it, instead passes it back out. Working in, Powell spins around, draws the contact, and knocks down a shot. UNLV doing a good job in the comeback effort, and that's going to be an and one with Powell heading to the line for one more. Foul going to go against Deja Mason. Shot good from Katie Powell. So Powell now with 9 points after that, leading the way for UNLV. Eliza gets it into Duffy on the free throw line. She kicks it out to Brewster. Brewster back up top to Eliza. Eliza top of the arc into Duffy, over to Price. Price up the baseline, blocked by Powell. Strong defense by UNLV there, and they have a transition opportunity, 2-on-2, as Johnson works in, draws the contact, but no good on the shot. Brewster comes down with the board. Slowing it down as they bring it across midcourt. Eliza resets things, calls the play. Passes over to Duffy. Duffy over to the left side for Brewster. Brewster back to Duffy. Jumper from the elbow. Good 15-footer right over the fingertips of Katie Powell. Katie Powell's all of 6'4", and that shot got just over to put Utah State up 23-21. Shannon Duffy now with 8 points, having a great night. Anderson has it up top. Dumps it into Powell. Powell guarded by Mason. She's going to spin around, get towards the baseline, put it up. No good, but the rebound tipped out of bounds by Victoria Price. Could have just fallen straight to Mason. Price tips it out of bounds, and now she's going to check out in place of Olivia West. So UNLV inbound from the baseline coming. Wharton going to check in place of Brooke Johnson. And looks like Simone Shepard coming in for the Lady Rebels as well in place of Jordan Bell. So 2:04 to go in the second. Utah State up by a couple, 23-21. Wharton to inbound. From the baseline, dumps it right into Strother. Breakdown by Utah State. That was the easiest couple of points you could ever ask for UNLV. Back the other way, Brewster has it on the left wing. Brewster up top to Eliza. 20 on the shot clock. Eliza guarded by Wharton. Passes over, right wing for Olivia. Olivia over to Duffy on the baseline. Duffy back out to Olivia, 7 on the shot clock. Utah State needs a shot. Olivia tries to drive in, it's stolen away. Fast hands by Paris Strother to come away with it. And UNLV can break the tie here and go up for the first time in quite a while with a bucket. Powell near the corner, passes it back out to the left wing, now up top for Wharton. Wharton hands it back to Anderson. Anderson up towards the elbow, then back out to Strother up top. Strother up to the right elbow, hands it back. Wharton driving in, puts it up, and UNLV has the lead for the first time tonight. 25-23, UNLV lead. They're outscoring the Aggies 17-14 this quarter. Sorry, make that 19-14 this quarter. Brewster has it on the left wing. We got 45 seconds to play. Brewster hands it back out to Duffy, 10 on the shot clock. Duffy steps in, 15-footer, good. Shannon Duffy's feeling it. And that ties things back up, 25 apiece. 34 seconds to go. We got about 5 or so seconds between the shot and the game clock. Shepard passes up top to Wharton. Wharton over to the left wing for Anderson. Back up to Wharton. All around the outside. Shepard has it, gets it into the baseline. Back out to Shepard, right wing. Gets it into Powell. 10 on the shot clock. UNLV passing very well on this possession. Powell tries to get in. She's fouled as she tries to go up. So that's a couple shots coming for Katie Powell. It's going to go against Deja Mason. So Utah State bigs really in some foul trouble. Not a good sign, as Deja Mason now has 3. Haley Bassett, Mason now has 4. Haley Bassett has 3. Powell's first shot is good. We've got 10 seconds to go after this shot. 26-25 now, the UNLV lead. Powell, a 73% free throw shooter. She's perfect tonight, 3 of 3. 4 of 4, make that. And the second one good as well. To put the Lady Rebels up by a couple timeout. No, just a substitution as Jackman checks in for Strother. Aggies to inbound with 10 seconds exactly on the clock. Duffsey inbounds to Eliza. Eliza back over to Duffsey. Utah State still not across midcourt. 6 to go. Pass up to Brewster. Brewster shoots a long shot with about 5 seconds to go, and no good. She easily could have stepped in, gotten another few feet closer, but that's how it's going to end. Utah State trailing UNLV 27-25 after leading for about 18 minutes of this game. Utah State was in command, and they're going to head to the tunnel trailing at halftime. And we'll cut out for a break, but the score 27-25 for the Lady Rebels. Really an ugly, ugly first quarter. Second quarter, much more competitive. And the leading scorers for each team, Shannon Duffsey has 10 for the Aggies on 4 of 8 shooting. She's also got a couple of rebounds. For UNLV, Katie Powell with 11 on 3 of 10 shooting, though 5 of 5 from the free throw line, and a couple of rebounds for Powell. One really big storyline to watch here in the second half, though. Deja Mason with 4 fouls, 1 away from fouling out at halftime. Haley Bassett with 3, so 2 away. And that's your bigs for the Aggies. We're going to maybe see some more Taylor Franson minutes here in the second. Maybe some more, maybe we'll see Laura Dalton check in, get some time, but Utah State's going to need an answer into the post. Anyway, we'll cut out for halftime break. Thanks for tuning in to Aggie Radio, AggieRadio.com, and the Mountain West Network. I'm Jaden Johnson, the call, where we'll have every game this season here on Aggie Radio. At the half, it's 27-25 UNLV. We'll be back in a minute. And welcome on back. Halftime between the Utah State Aggies and the UNLV Lady Rebels. UNLV leading after two, 27-25, and what was a pretty ugly first half for each team. Utah State shooting just 31% in the half, UNLV just 28%. The first quarter just really ugly, 9-6 after one quarter. Teams really cleaned things up a lot in the second. Looked a lot better offensively on each side. If you're the coach of either of these teams, though, you know, if you're Coach Jerry Finkbeiner over for Utah State in the locker room at halftime, or if you're Coach Olivier for UNLV, you got to be telling your squad, look, if you just played halfway decent offense there, if you just hit a reasonable percentage from the field in that first half, it's a blowout. But as it sits, anybody's game, as it's a 2-point deficit here at halftime for the Aggies. Leading the way in the first half was Shannon Duffy for Utah State. 10 points, knocked down a couple of big three-pointers, and a couple of rebounds as well. On the flip side for UNLV, 11 points for Katie Powell, and a couple of rebounds for her. Strahler has 8 as well for UNLV, though just 1 of 6 from the field, but 5 rebounds. UNLV, a team that typically is just going to, the way that they win games is on the rebounds. They don't shoot particularly well this season. I mean, looking at their numbers from the field, they're shooting just 37.5%. That's, I mean, in the 262nd in the nation. They shoot really poorly from outside, just 25.8%. But what they do is they rebound 42.5 times per game. That's 48th in the nation. That's first in the Mountain West. They out-rebound their opponents by 5.1 rebounds per game, which is just phenomenal. They don't pass particularly well, just 11.8 assists per game. I mean, really, a lot of these numbers, when you look at comparing UNLV and Utah State, very similar, other than that rebounding margin, where Utah State this season is minus 2.9 per game. However, at halftime, as it sits, Utah State really held it tight throughout almost the entire first half, and then right at the end, UNLV pulled down a whole bunch, and they lead 22-17 in that category. 9 turnovers, though, for the Lady Rebels, 6 for Utah State. 10 points in the paint for UNLV, 4 for the Aggies. And other than that, I mean, it's been a pretty even game. Though, another big number and something to watch, UNLV has gone to the free throw line 11 times, made all 11, while Utah State just 3 of 4. So not getting inside, not drawing the contact, not creating fouls. And on the flip side, a couple of Aggies in big-time foul trouble. Deja Mason already with 4. Haley Bassett already with 3. And that's your 2 most important post players that are going to have to work hard to keep out of foul trouble here in the second. UNLV is coming off of a big win. They beat San Jose State 79-60. They out-rebounded San Jose State in that game 55-30, though they had 21 turnovers. They held the Spartans to just 30% shooting. Where on the flip side, Utah State coming off of a loss against Fresno that came right down to the buzzer. That was just a heartbreaker for the Aggies. We talked to Coach Finkbeiner about it before the game, and of course he focused on all the things that they did before that led them to losing on a buzzer beater, but you can't deny the fact that Utah State has had pretty rough luck in the 3 games that have come down to the wire this season, going 0-3 in those. That game, so Utah State lost 57-56. And when you look at it on paper, you would think Utah State won. They outshot them 43% to 39%. They had 33 rebounds apiece, each team. Utah State had 13 assists to Fresno's 11. Utah State only had 11 turnovers to Fresno's 14. But the Aggies shot 7 of 13 from the free throw line and 1 of 15 from the three-point line. So really tough to win when you do that. But an up-and-down season for Utah State, though a win here against UNLV could really fix a lot of those troubles. Even things up at 2-2, and you'd be feeling pretty good. Coach Finkbeiner, before the game, in the interview that we aired here on Aggie Radio, talked about the fact that he truly believes this UNLV team, I mean, despite their record, they're 6-7, but they've played just an absolutely ridiculous schedule preseason. He believes that UNLV is one of the top teams in the Mountain West, and that once things play out and we're in the conference tournament, they're going to be one of the top seeds right up there with the likes of New Mexico and Boise State, Wyoming. They should be a really, really good competitive team throughout conference play. That's a good sign for Aggie fans watching this, as they now lead the Aggies just 27-25. Back in, it's UNLV ball to start out the second half, and we're back underway. For the Rebels, driving up, Anderson gets it up, had a beautiful lane, and then Bassett did a good job to step in and break things up, so Utah State comes back with it. Jumper from Brewster, no good, just inside the three-point line. Johnson with the board, so neither team able to score on their first possession. UNLV has another shot at it, though. Anderson gets up, left elbow, stops, she's guarded by Jensen. Passes it back up to Strother. Strother now left elbow, back up to Bell. Bell hands it back to Johnson. Johnson gonna get into the paint, working against Brewster. Beautiful move, up and around, and then up the left side, off the glass, to put UNLV up by 4. 29-25 the score. Back the other way, it's knocked out of bounds, and that's a turnover on Utah State. Aggies couldn't wrangle it in before it fell out. And UNLV, good job to force a turnover there and get the ball back, looking to extend that lead. Biggest lead of the game so far is a 4 points for UNLV. Anderson has it on the right wing, guarded by Jensen. She gets it up to the baseline for Strother, back up out top for Bell. Bell over to the left side for Johnson. Johnson dumps it in, and what a pass into Strother. That is why Brooke Johnson leads the team with 4.2 assists per game. It's 9th in the Mountain West. Coach Finkbeiner called a quick timeout as Utah State starts out the half pretty poorly. 6-0 run for the Rebels to start things out. I'm sorry, 4-0 run to start out, and so team's going to head back to the huddle. We'll go out to a quick break as well, and come back in just a moment with the rest of the third quarter. 8:33 to go. UNLV leading 31-25. And welcome on back. We're just underway in the second half. 8:33 to go in the third quarter, and Coach Finkbeiner called a timeout for Utah State after allowing UNLV a 4-0 run to start out the half. So he just wants to get in the huddle, regroup a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of a lackluster play on each side for Utah State to start out the quarter, so I'm sure he just wants to wake them up. But it is going to be Utah State ball coming out of the timeout. Utah State trailing 31-25 as the teams take the court. So again, a good start here in the second half for UNLV. They've shot 2 of 3 so far to start things out. Utah State only 1 shot, and that's because they had a turnover on their other possession. So back in, Utah State has it. Brewster on the left wing has it poked by Johnson, almost a steal there, but Utah State retains it. Eliza passes over to Lindsey Jensen on the right wing. Jensen back over to Eliza. Eliza over to left wing. Brewster thought about a 3, instead kicks over to Jensen. Jensen works up the baseline, shoots from outside, just inside the 3-point line, and good. Lindsey Jensen, a good night in her second start of her career. Back the other way, Brewster intercepts a pass intended for Jordan Bell. She's going to take it back, hand it to Jensen under the basket. Jensen, a wild shot, up and under, and no good. UNLV grabs the board. Utah State couldn't take advantage of that big opportunity. Instead, the other way, Johnson shoots a 3 and knocks it down just to the left of the arc. And that puts UNLV up 34-27. You do not want Brooke Johnson to start feeling it. She's the team leader with 15.5 points per game. Back the other way, Utah State a 3 of their own from Duffusy. That won't go. It's too long, but it's going to go out of bounds off of UNLV. Anderson went up for the rebound, tipped it out. So will be Aggie ball. Not sure if that was a 3 or 2, but it doesn't exactly matter. So 34-27, the UNLV leads, 7:24 in the third. Inbound coming right in front of the Utah State bench. For the Aggies, Olivia West and Victoria Price have checked in. Price will be the inbounder, gets it into Duffy. Duffy on the right wing, hands it back over to Eliza. Eliza guarded by Johnson. Johnson over the right wing. Price works off a screen, goes to the right, goes up, not quite enough on the lay-in. It's tipped back by Bassett. Good heads-up play, and it goes back to Olivia West. Offensive board there, and Utah State going to get another opportunity. You see Utah State turning down a lot more open three opportunities here today, and that's largely because Coach Finkbeiner has emphasized we're not going to be taking as many threes. They shot very poorly, 1 of 15 against Fresno, and a string of just poor outside performances for the Aggies. So driving in, Utah State is fouled. This foul's going to go against Rajane Wade. She picks up her first, and she's going to check out right away as Wharton comes in. Utah State to inbound from the baseline with a fresh shot clock, trailing 34-27. Inbound to Olivia. She passes over to Eliza on the left wing. Eliza brings it up top. She's guarded by Johnson. 19 on the shot clock. Back over to Olivia, left wing. Into Duffy. Duffy into Bassett, and a foul called under the basket on UNLV. I think that is going to go against Wharton. Yeah, they're going to say Wharton picks up the foul. And so another inbound from the baseline once again for Utah State, and another fresh shot clock. UNLV now 2 team fouls. Inbound goes to Bassett. Bassett with the left-hander puts it up over Powell, but no good, just too much on it. Powell comes down with the board. Utah State really struggling to get anything going in the paint. Just 4 points in the paint to UNLV's 14. Powell up top, kicks it over to Wharton on the right wing. Wharton tries to get it inside, and a foul called. Not sure who on. No, just not a foul. I'm sorry, just went out of bounds. Deflected off of Utah State. I believe the whistle. I thought the whistle was before the ball went out, but my apologies there. So UNLV just inbounds from the baseline. Gets it up to Shepard. Shepard into Powell. Powell spinning around, too short on the lay-in, and Utah State with the rebound. Bassett came down with it, passes over to Eliza. Eliza across midcourt. Gets it up to Bassett on the free throw line. Steps up, shoots, no good from about 14, and then the rebound from Simone Shepard. 34-27, Utah State 0 of their last 5 from the field. Haven't scored in over 2 minutes. Bassett with a monster block under the basket, but goes back to Bell. Bell went up. Bassett blocked it. Bell went up again, and once again goes out of bounds off of a Utah State player. So we'll be Lady Rebel inbound from under the basket with 12 left on the shot clock, and a timeout called by UNLV. So team's going to head back to the huddle. 34-27 is the Lady Rebel lead, and once they come out of the timeout, they will have the ball on an inbound. We'll keep it here for this break. Go over some more of the numbers. Again, Shannon Duffy still the leading scorer for Utah State with 10 points. Victoria Price having a nice night. Not a lot of what she's doing showing up on the stat sheet, but I mean 7 points and a rebound. But she's doing a good job facilitating, as she's done just so well. Victoria Price, I was a little surprised to not see her starting today. I believe it was more defensively. She's a very good defender, and they love to use her when they're playing against really high caliber, really good offensive point guards. So Victoria Price coming off the bench today, but in her starts she averages 12 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game. So Utah State really loaded at the guard spot this season with both of the Eliza and Olivia West and Victoria Price. And then the future is good for the Aggies in that position. UNLV without their own point guard, Nikki Wheatley, who is 3rd on the team in points per game. She's 2nd in rebounds per game, 2nd in assists per game. She's out. She has a foot injury, which has kept her out for the last 3 or 4 games, and she's likely going to miss another game or 2 due to this injury. You know, just a tough go to start out conference play, not healthy for UNLV, especially Nikki Wheatley, such a phenomenal player. She's only 5'5", and she's 2nd on the team in rebounds per game, 8.2 rebounds per game. And, you know, that's a big part of the reason why UNLV hasn't been quite as good in the rebounding category as one might have thought here in the last couple of games. I mean, they're still out-rebounding Utah State today, 28-21, but that's without the second rebounder on the team. Once UNLV's back and totally healthy, they are going to be a very scary team. I mean, they're already good. They're going to be really good once she's back. And watch out tournament time for UNLV. So we're back at it. Lady Rebels have the ball to inbound. Inbound from the baseline goes into Bell. Bell out to Johnson on the right wing. Johnson going to drive in, kick it up top. Three goes up. Powell knocks it down. Nothing but net from the top of the arc. And Katie Powell, the leading scorer for UNLV today, now with 14 points. That was her first three of the game, and it's a 10-point game just like that. 37-27 UNLV lead. So screen set by Powell is going to be a foul. Liza worked off it, and so Powell picks up her second and the third team foul for UNLV this quarter. Utah State to inbound. Right side inbound from Price goes into Eliza. Fresh shot clock. Eliza doesn't use the screen from Bassett, instead passes it out to Duffy, left wing. Duffy over to Price. Duffy passes it back into Price. It's stolen away. Brooke Johnson. Johnson, third in the Mountain West in steals per game, has another. She's having a great night defensively. She was that's why she was first team all Mountain West defense last season. Powell tries another three, top of the arc again. That one won't fall. And Utah State back in transition. Duffy thought about it, instead works around Powell, gets up the baseline, and foul called as she gets up to the basket. Free throws coming as Johnson called with the foul. So Shannon Duffy, leading scorer for Utah State tonight, 10 points. Hasn't shot a free throw yet, though, and she's going to have an opportunity to add a couple more onto that. This season, 60%, though, only from the free throw line. First one is good, bringing the UNLV lead down to 37-28. Duffy is having a great season rebounding the ball. She leads the team with 8.9 rebounds per game. That's third in the Mountain West. Leads the Mountain West in defensive rebounds per game. She knocks down the second free throw, and 7.8 points per game for the sophomore as well. Back the other way, Powell gets it on the baseline. Powell goes up and is fouled. So more free throws coming. Katie Powell just terrorizing under the basket. She's already got 5 free throws tonight. She's going to have a couple more here. She can extend the UNLV lead, which is 8 now, with a couple shots. First one good. Still perfect from the line, 6 of 6. Anderson and Strawther checking back in for UNLV, and Deja Mason checking in for Haley Bassett for Utah State. Mason, though, 1 foul away from heading back to the bench for good. Second shot good for Powell as well. Powell was 16 points for the Lady Rebels, averaging 13.3 per game. So well above her average already with a quarter and a half to go. Utah State has it trailing by 10. Duffy's going to work up to the baseline, shoot from 15, and good. Shannon Duffy having a good night. 14 points now, 3 rebounds for the sophomore. Back down to 8. Powell has it up top. Powell over, passes to Shepard. Shepard up to the right elbow, then passes, crafty pass over to Anderson. Back up top, Johnson has it, shoots a 3, no good. Duffy with the board. Johnson now 2 of 4 from the 3-point line. Liza drives into the baseline, kicks it out to the right corner for Price. Price with 19 on the shot clock, back up top to Duffy. Over to West on the left wing. West brings it up top, works off a screen from Mason. Gets up to the right side, puts up with the lefty, scoop shot in. Bringing that lead down now just to 6, 39-33. Eliza West making something out of nothing there. And Eliza now with her first points of the night. Strawther gets it on the baseline, puts it up over Mason, and too much on it. Utah State with the board. Back the other way, Price driving in, double team, she's blocked. But she grabs her own board, then tries to go up again, and a foul. No, jump ball called. I don't know. So she tried to go up on the left side. A lot of contact there, and it's going to be whistled a jump ball. I mean, luckily for Utah State, they will retain possession, but not sure where that one came from. So Olivia going to inbound from the baseline. Brewster going to check back in as Eliza checks out for Utah State. One big story, Olivia West, the leading scorer for Utah State, still scoreless tonight, though she hasn't played a ton of time in comparison to usual. So Aggies have it back in after the jump ball. Victoria Price up top, works off a screen, passes to Mason. Mason on the block, knocks down her defender and then gets up, has an open shot but can't knock it down as Bell hit the floor trying to draw the charge. And then back the other way, a quick lay-in from Shepard, somehow grabbed her own board as she missed. Not sure how she came back down with that. And UNLV can have another shot. Anderson on the left elbow, kicks it out to the right corner for Strother. Strother three up, no good, and chasing the board is Price. She comes down with it. Olivia back the other way, steps back instead of going up against Johnson, probably wise. Johnson, one of the best defenders in the league. And so Utah State just going to reset and have an opportunity here. Price gets around the defender, drives in, and what a lay-in there. Victoria Price making it happen, and Utah State on a 6-0 run, bringing that lead down to just 4. UNLV has only made 1 of their last 9, 0 of their last 5 from the field, trying to break that streak here. Shepard has it. She tries to pass in a turnover. She just passed way over the head of Paris Strother and out of bounds. And UNLV has had enough. Coach Olivier going to call a timeout and try and regroup. Just a careless turnover there by UNLV, and that kind of epitomizes what we've seen from them the last 3 or 4 minutes. Aggies on a 6-0 run, trailing 39-35 with 1:55 to go. We'll cut out for a quick break and come back in just a moment with the remainder of quarter number 3. All right, we're right back at it here at the Spectrum. Utah State trailing UNLV 39-35, 1:55 to go in the third quarter, and it's Aggie ball coming out of a timeout. Utah State on a 6-0 run, trying to extend that as Victoria Price at point guard brings it across midcourt. Price over to Duffsey on the left wing. Duffsey back over to the right wing for Olivia. Olivia going to drive up to the baseline. A lot of contact, knocks her out of bounds, and she just threw it away. So that's going to be a turnover. And back to UNLV. Rebels leading by 4. Bring it across midcourt. Shooting just 29%. Utah State shooting just 32%. Left wing, Anderson passes up top to Strother. Strother over to Johnson. Johnson working in towards the paint. Poked away. Olivia West comes away with the steal. Utah State has 2-on-1. West over to Brewster. Brewster lays it in left side to bring Utah State back within 2. 1:16 to go here in the quarter. And heads-up defensive play there by Olivia West. Having a hard time getting on the board scoring, still 0 points, but she's making it work defensively. Comes up with a big one for Utah State there. Back the other way, Johnson on the corner, dumps it in, then back out up top to Strother for 3, and knocks it down. UNLV goes back up by 42-37, 5-point game. We got 47 seconds to go, Utah State ball. Duffsey has it left wing. She's going to hand it over to Brewster. Brewster on the screen from Duffsey. Gets it open. Left wing. 3 up and knocks it down. Shannon Duffsey having a great night outside. 3 of 4 from the 3-point line and now 17 points for the sophomore. 2-point game again. UNLV has it. They got about a second between shot and game clock, so they can essentially run this down to the end. And that is exactly what they're going to do as Johnson steps back up to the logo. Goes over to the right side, guarded by Price. Price reaches in and kicks it up top. Kennedy Wharton tries to drive in. It's almost stolen away. Olivia West fighting for it. Jump ball called. It will stay with UNLV. But Olivia West playing some solid defense here and forces the jump as she tried to fight it away from Anderson. So with 4 seconds on the shot clock, 5.4 on the game clock, UNLV will inbound from their own baseline. Powell checks back in for Wharton to finish out the remainder of the quarter here. Anderson will be the inbounder. Anderson gets it into Johnson, left corner. Johnson steps over to the right, shoots from three, no good. Duffsey comes down with the board, and that is how the quarter will end. Utah State on a monstrous run to close things out. Good way to finish the quarter. And they're going to head in trailing by just 2 points after a scary start to the quarter for Utah State. 42-40 is our score with 1 quarter remaining. Thanks for tuning in to today's broadcast on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com, as well as the Mountain West Network. We'll come back with the 4th quarter here in just a moment. And welcome on back. 3 quarters down, 1 quarter to go, and it is a good one here in Logan. 42-40, UNLV leads Utah State, and Aggies looking to close out strong. First quarter, Utah State outscored the Rebels 9-6. Second quarter was UNLV 21-16. Third quarter 15 apiece. So it's just been tight. It's been back and forth. Aggies have led for 15 minutes and a half. UNLV for 10 and a half. I expect nothing less than a great finish here at the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum. Thanks for tuning in today's game here on Aggie Radio. We'll have every Utah State women's hoops games this season. You can catch the men tonight in action against UNLV down in Vegas. That will tip off at 7 o'clock p.m. Utah State inbounds, and then an errant pass is intercepted by Johnson. Brooke Johnson steals it away. Victoria Price kind of kicking herself for that one, just got lazy on the pass and lays it in the other way, so UNLV extends that lead now at 44-40. Utah State has it, though, looking for their first points of this quarter. Price up top, kicks it over to the left wing for Brewster. Brewster into Duffsey. Duffsey over to the right corner. 3 up. No good from Olivia West. Duffsey fights for the board, though, and earns another chance as she knocks it out of bounds off of UNLV. So Utah State going to get another opportunity here. Inbound from the baseline coming with a fresh shot clock. Olivia inbounds to Duffsey up top. 9:21 to go in the 4th quarter. 44-40, the UNLV lead. Olivia working against Brooke Johnson up top. Passes over to Brewster on the right wing. Brewster a screen. Doesn't use it. Instead works up towards the baseline. Kicks it out left corner for Price. Price going to work up the baseline. Puts up a lay-in, but it's short. And the foul called on UNLV is going to send Price to the line. Foul goes against Brooke Johnson. Katie Powell for UNLV. So that is her 3rd. And a couple of shots coming. Victoria Price has tonight 9 points already. 1 of 2 from the free throw line. She knocks down the first here, so make that 10 points. 3 rebounds as well. And Price, a 72% free throw shooter, has another opportunity, can bring it back within 2. Doesn't hit the second, and then Duffsey goes up for the board. Got an over-the-back call, though, as she just got a little too aggressive on it. So first team foul for Utah State this quarter. And for Duffsey, that's her 2nd. Sorry, that is her 3rd. So UNLV brings it across midcourt, up by 3, 41-40. Dumped into Powell. Powell working against Mason, and she just lays it up the left side. I think Mason trying to avoid contact as much as possible, playing with 4 fouls. And that just kind of left an easy one for Katie Powell, who now has 18 points. A little surprised we're not seeing more of that. Utah State playing tentatively into the post. Aggies the other way. Duffsey up top, kicks over to the right side for Olivia. Olivia back up top to Price. Price over the left wing. 3 up from Duffsey, in and out, and Powell with the board. Powell now has 5 rebounds, 18 points. And Utah State goes another possession without scoring. Powell shoots a jumper from the baseline, 15-footer, no good. Duffsey couldn't grab the board, so UNLV gets another shot at it. Brooke Johnson shoots from the right wing. That won't go, and this time Brewster comes down. So 2 shots for UNLV, can't get either. Back the other way. Duffsey thought about a 3 from the wing, instead drives in, gets up, and Shannon Duffsey adds to her total on a nice little 10-foot jumper to put Utah State back within 3. Shannon Duffsey now with 19 points, 6 rebounds. UNLV left corner. Johnson thought about the 3 and said she's going to drive in, and a foul called on Victoria Price. Price was, I don't know if she was trying to draw the charge or she just lost balance there, but Price hit the floor, and so that is going to be, that is her second personal foul and the second team foul for Utah State as well. Inbound coming from the baseline for UNLV. It's 46-43, Lady Rebels lead, 7:41 to go. Johnson inbounds to Powell up top. Powell up against Bassett right now. Passes over. Back to Johnson. Johnson working against Eliza. Crosses her over, steps up. Up to Powell on the right elbow. Powell driving against Bassett. Works up, and foul called. Bassett thought she was straight up. Not a ton of contact, but enough to get a whistle there. So a couple more shots coming for Powell. Powell getting everything she wants, really. I mean, when she doesn't get an easy land, she's getting the whistle. And that has contributed to 18 points. 7 of 7 from the free throw line. 2 more coming, and make that 8 of 8. She knocks down the first. 47-43 now, the Lady Rebel lead. Second free throw good as well. And Powell with 20 points. Liza has it up top. Passes over to Brewster in the right corner. She's double teamed. Johnson steps up to get her, and then Utah State puts up a shot. Won't go. Powell comes down with the board. Johnson brings it across midcourt, kicks over to the right for Anderson, and a travel called, I believe that's what that was. Turnover from UNLV. It's going to go back to Utah State. So Liza brings it. Trailing 48-43. We've still got 7 minutes to go. Liza kicks it over to Bassett. Bassett right wing driving in. Beautiful move up, and an easy land created. Bassett, couple points there, brings her total up to just 2. Bassett has been really solid scoring. I think she's definitely playing tentatively, though, with 4 fouls here today, and only taking 5 shots. Johnson has it on the right wing, works off a screen, pass up to Powell. Powell for 3, no good, didn't even hit rim, but offensive board grabbed. Bell gets it, puts it back up, and this time Duffsey comes down with it. Duffsey over to Bassett. Bassett brings it across midcourt. Utah State was outnumbered 4-2, so they're just going to stop, slow it down. Liza steps back towards the logo, trailing by 3. Liza steps up, kicks it over to left to Duffsey. Duffsey working against Bell. Tries to pass it into Bassett. It's intercepted and stolen away. Anderson comes away with it. She's going to bring it back for UNLV. Gets up to the right wing, then passes up to Powell. Powell up to Johnson. Johnson top of the arc. Up against Brewster. She's working in. Brewster with the block. I don't know if that was a pass or a shot, but Brewster blocked it out of bounds either way. And so it'll be an inbound coming from the baseline for UNLV. Brewster going to check out after that. And in for the Aggies, Olivia West. So inbound goes into Powell. Powell on the baseline, double teamed. Bassett almost pokes it away, and then it's deflected out of bounds again off of Utah State. So another baseline inbound coming. Heads up play though by Haley Bassett. Good hustle there. UNLV on these baseline inbounds is more times than not just gone right under the basket for the easy lay-in. Utah State doing a much better job of preventing that. This time the inbound goes up, way up top to Strother. Strother over to Johnson. Johnson then sets the screen for Shepard. Shepard back up top to Strother. Strother over the right corner. Johnson. Johnson into Powell. Powell against Bassett. Works up and under and gets the lay-in. Nice move there by Katie Powell, extending that to 22 points for Katie Powell, the junior. Just over 5 minutes to go, 50-45, and Olivia West gets on the board. Nice little jumper from the baseline, and that is Olivia West, Utah State's leading scorer. That is her first bucket of the night to bring Utah State back within 3 again. Right elbow, Shepard has it. Shepard up to the free throw line, kicks it over the right. Back up top. Johnson gonna reset, steps back, guarded by Eliza, 10 on the shot clock. Shepard has it, dumps it in, baseline. Strother lays it up and in. UNLV getting whatever they want under the basket right now. 22 points in the paint for the Lady Rebels. 5-point lead for UNLV. It's 52-47, 4.5 minutes to go. Liza way up high, gets the screen from Duffusy, passes over Olivia, left wing, 3, up and knocks it down, nothing but net. 2-point game and timeout called by Utah State. 4:22 to go. We'll cut out to a quick break, but Utah State bringing it back, and we're going to have a good finish here in Logan. 52-50 is the score. 4:22 left on the clock in the fourth quarter. All right, we're right back at it with 4:22 to go in this game. Utah State trailing UNLV 52-50, but Utah State has made 3 of their last 3 field goals and is feeling pretty good here, I think, coming out of this timeout with a 2-point game. It's been even this quarter, 10 points apiece for each team. Third quarter exactly the same way, 15 apiece. So far in the second half, just really, really even. But Utah State still trailing by a couple. Aggies shooting 38%, that's raised dramatically, and 46% from the three-point line, getting much better opportunities than they've seen as of late. They went 1 of 15 against Fresno. Now they're 6 of 13 in this one. 46% there. Turnovers, Utah State has 11, UNLV with 13, and rebounding, UNLV up 36-30 in that category. If Utah State can clean things up here a little bit, fight for the rebounds a little bit harder, they've got just as good of a shot as UNLV in this game, and they've really been playing good basketball here in the fourth quarter. We're back in. UNLV has it. Utah State going with a light full court press. Liza lays off and lets Johnson bring it across. Johnson with 18 on the shot clock, way up high. She's going to pass it in, looking for Strother. Strother goes up, misses the shot, but board grabbed and put right back up by Powell. Foul called as Powell tries to go up, and that is going to be it for Haley Bassett. Bassett says she was straight up. Officials say she's done. 5 fouls, and Bassett's out of there. So 2 free throws coming up for Katie Powell. The bad news for Utah State, I mean, obviously Haley Bassett leaving. That's big time. That's really going to hurt them. Although Deja Mason, you got a good other center there. Deja Mason, though, playing with 4 fouls of her own, so she's 1 away. Powell knocks down the first. Katie Powell, 23 points, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. 7 rebounds. She can do no wrong, and she hits the second as well. The transfer from Arkansas coming up big for UNLV. Back the other way, Price, nice little hop step, puts up a shot, but that won't go, and Powell comes down with it. UNLV bringing it back across midcourt, up 54-50. Johnson passes over to Anderson. Anderson into the free throw line for Strother. Strother back to Johnson. Back up top to Strother. Working off a screen, Johnson kicks over to left corner. 3 up and no good from Anderson, but UNLV grabs the board. Strother with the offensive board, and then they dump it in, and Bell lays it in on the left side for a couple more. UNLV feeling real good, and rightfully so. Offensive boards for days for UNLV. 15 offensive rebounds in this game. Getting second chance opportunities. Livia has it, gets up to the free throw line, then she's blocked by Anderson. Utah State kind of falling apart here. 56-50, the UNLV lead, 3:02 to go. Left corner, Bell has it, kicks it back up top to Johnson, back over to left corner for Bell. She's gonna dump it in to Powell. Powell blocked as she goes up. Deja Mason with the block, and that goes out of bounds. So UNLV ball coming from the baseline. 19 to go on the shot clock. Powell will be the inbounder. Gets it into Strother. Strother back up top to Anderson. Anderson over left corner. 3, Johnson, no good, but Strother with the easy offensive board and lay-in. Nobody there to box her out. And UNLV goes up 58-50. Utah State desperately needs some points here. Liza driving up, puts up a wild shot, won't get it to go. Grabs her own board, though, then kicks it out right. 3 goes up, Price no good, and Powell with the board. UNLV lead remains at 8 with 2:22 to go. Powell bringing it, or Johnson bringing it across midcourt. 6-0 run for UNLV here in crunch time. Utah State has missed all of their last 4 shots after hitting 3 straight. Johnson up top with 10 on the shot clock. Gives over to Strother. Strother 3. Air ball long. And Duffesey grabs the board. So break there for the Aggies. Duffesey takes a 3 top of the arc. Duffesey no good. Mason fighting for the offensive board. It goes out of bounds. Is it going to be off Mason or Powell? I believe, they're going to say Powell got a foul there. She tried to reach in for it. So it did go out of bounds, but a foul called on Powell before. So that is the second team foul for UNLV and the 4th for Powell. So the Aggies will inbound from the front court. Price gets it into Mason. Fresh shot clock. Mason hands it back to Brewster. Brewster jumper from 15, too strong. And Utah State can't grab the board. Anderson comes down with it. With 1:40 to go, UNLV leading by 8. Anderson brings it across. Passes it over to Bell. Bell back up top. Anderson. Anderson over to Strother. Strother right corner for Bell. Back up top. Powell has it now. Working up. Foul called. And that is it for Deja Mason. No, they're actually, I'm sorry, that's not going to go against, that's going to go against Rachel Brewster. And either way, it's going to send Powell to the free throw line for a couple. Powell, who is 11 of 11 from the stripe and 24 points, has a chance for a couple more. Misses for the first time tonight, though. Make that 11 of 12 as she can't hit. We've got 1:25 to go. UNLV leading 58-50. Powell's second shot. This one's good. So 9-point game. Aggie ball. Price brings it across midcourt. Utah State needs some quick possessions here. Price gets the screen from Mason. She's going to drive and kick it out right. Corner 3 from Olivia. No good. Deja Mason fighting for the board. Gets it. Kicks it back out. Olivia over to Price. Price up top. Utah State needs a point. 1:05 to go. I don't know why they're taking so long. Price works off a screen. She's going to drive in. Lay in. And a foul called. Offensive foul on Victoria Price. That will just about do it. Utah State desperately needed some points there. And timeout called by Coach Finkbeiner. So it will be UNLV ball coming out of the timeout. 59-50, the Lady Rebel lead. Utah State really they kept it tight through so much of this game. It was back and forth, and you hate to see it go down like this if you're an Aggie fan. But 6-0 UNLV scoring run while Utah State has missed all of their last 6 shots, haven't scored in nearly 3 minutes. Coach Finkbeiner has talked so many times this season about Utah State's biggest problem, which is just being able to put 40 minutes together. I mean, that's it seems like a cliche, and that's something that every team obviously struggles with at times, but there's been so many times this season where Utah State, you felt like they're the better team, at least through much of the game. They play really good basketball for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then it's 5-10-minute stretches that really doom them, and that appears in all likelihood to be the case again tonight, as it is UNLV ball with a 9-point lead and a minute left. So Utah State going to go for the steal here on the inbound. UNLV inbounds, though. They get it straight away into Swather. Brooke Johnson brings it across midcourt. She's going to just drive in, put it up quickly. Not sure why she went up, but a foul called nonetheless. Victoria Price kind of bailed her out. Don't know if she had too great of a lay-in there, but she's going to have a couple free throws because of it. So Johnson, the leading scorer for UNLV, only has 10 tonight. She's averaging 15.5. Though could bring that up a couple with some shots here. First one, good. Johnson, an 82% free throw shooter this season. She's also averaging 4.2 assists per game, 2.0 steals per game. Knocks down the second as well. Just a phenomenal player. As I mentioned earlier, I voted her as All Mountain West preseason. I think she should have been. Didn't get that, but I think that she'll very well end up on the first team come postseason. So Utah State brings it back the other way, and Price is fouled. That's going to go against Johnson. It's just the third team foul, though, so it's just going to be a Utah State inbound from the baseline. They get it into Duffy. Duffy from the baseline puts it up, hits the side of the backboard, but foul called. That's against Jordan Bell, so a couple free throws for Duffy coming. Duffy has 19 points, 8 rebounds, and couple more coming here at the free throw line. She knocks down the first. Make that 20 points for Shannon Duffy. Utah State gets their first points on the board in 3 minutes and 41 seconds with that. And the second one good as well. 61-52 UNLV lead, 42.2 left on the clock. Rebels inbound. Powell has it. Johnson brings it across midcourt. She's just going to stop, slow things down. Strother has it, back to Johnson. 21 left on the shot clock. She dumps it into Powell. Powell lays it in. Too much on it, though. She comes down with the board. Tries to put it up again. It's blocked, and UNLV has it with the shot clock turned off. And then a foul called. No, a timeout called. Not entirely sure why. You call a timeout there with a 9-point lead and 23.5 seconds to go, but UNLV going to head to the huddle. So Utah State going to fall to 1-3 in Mountain West play with this loss. Tough start, especially, you know, considering that the Fresno State game came right down to the buzzer. They had that much of an opportunity for a big conference road win. This one, they lead through much of it and just can't come away with it. But you know, that's how the game of basketball goes. Aggies have a lot of regrouping to do here in the last couple games, or in the last set of games. I mean, we're about halfway through the season, and in the rest of Mountain West play, if they want to have any shot at a run late, they're going to need to turn things around dramatically. So closing things out, UNLV inbounds to Johnson. They've got 22 seconds to go. Shot clock is off. And Johnson just trying to dribble it out, then she's fouled by Price. I mean, I guess you love to see that aggression there for Utah State, but this thing's all but over, and all that's going to do is send Johnson to the free throw line for a couple more. 61-52, UNLV lead, 13.4 left on the clock. Johnson's first is good. One more to come. Make that 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists for the senior guard. She played 37 minutes tonight, averaging 38 on the season. That's just that's ridiculous. A player that can take on that much of a workload. So Price checks out, Jensen back in, and the second shot is good as well. 63-52 now the lead. Utah State has it, 10 seconds to go. Brewster steps up to the baseline, knocks it down. Happy birthday, Rachel Brewster. You take that one. 15-footer, and Rachel Brewster going to finish the night out with 9 points on her birthday. 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Not a bad showing from Rachel. But that's how the game is going to end. 63-54 UNLV victory here in Logan. We'll hear from Coach Jerry Finkbeiner here in just a moment as he's going to make his way over here after congratulating the other team. But just, you know, a tough go for Utah State there. 63-54 loss. They led for much of the game. Aggies actually, I mean, it was almost split, dead even, about 20 minutes apiece. But you just get out-rebounded 46-34. You get stomped in the paint 26-12, and that's how it's going to go. So here's Coach Jerry Finkbeiner, kind enough to join us here. Coach, thanks for coming on over. First quarter, really low scoring. Utah State really seemed to figure it out there in the second and third, and then a big run for UNLV to close things out. You've talked about a 40-minute game and how the team has really struggled to do that. Is that the biggest problem that they face tonight?
It sure is. You know, we talked about that pregame, and I'm going to go to the locker room right now and talk about 40 minutes. The other disappointing thing about tonight is their big kid, Powell. The scouting report says that she drops her left shoulder, goes to her over her left shoulder to her right, and that's how she scored her 25, 27 points. And we just never did have a post girl anticipate that shot over her left shoulder, and that was disappointing because our post girls, 2 of them fouled out, and just never did understand the simple play of defensive low post play. So not taking anything away from them. I mean, they're preseason, I think, one of the top teams in the conference. Their point guard didn't play tonight, which probably handicapped them a little bit, but they're a good team. I'm again disappointed with. We probably played 28, 30 minutes tonight, and it's a 40-minute game.
Well, you mentioned, of course, Haley Bassett and Deja Mason getting in big-time foul trouble early on. Mason already had 4 fouls at halftime. How much did that impact that last 5-minute stretch where you're playing without those players, or playing with them tentatively?
Yeah, it probably did. I think more than anything, Haley just got outplayed all night long, and the fouls just contributed to that. But she just didn't feel her oats tonight, and that hurt her defensively, because I think when she's the type of player, she's a good offensive player. When things don't go her way, it affects her defense, and that's part of the reasons that Powell got what she got tonight, 25 points. But again, Deja guarded Powell also, and so it was between our 2 low post girls, we had 2 points, and their 1 low post girl had 25, and so that's a big difference of the game.
All right, thanks for the time, Coach.
Jade.
Appreciate it. That's Coach Jerry Finkbeiner. Pretty simple synopsis there tonight. Katie Powell, 25 points. She only shot 6 of 20, but got to the free throw line for 13 shots, made 12 of them, 11 rebounds. Phenomenal night for the junior Katie Powell. And, on the flip side, just like you said, Haley Bassett had 2 points, Deja Mason had 0. So you're outscored in the paint that badly by their center. And it's going to be really tough to win any game like that, especially when you get foul trouble, especially when you're playing tentatively on defense. Outscored in the paint 26-12, out-rebounded 46-34. I think part of this is it's a much different team. Utah State, the last 2 teams they've played have been very, very outside-oriented. They've been so focused on locking down the three-point shot. They did a good job of that tonight. UNLV just shot 5 of 20. But you gotta follow that scouting report, and as Coach said there, they really struggled to do so. Thanks for tuning in to today's game here on Aggie Radio, AggieRadio.com, and the Mountain West Network. I'm Jaden Johnson on the call, where we will have every single game this season. We're going to cut out for those listening here on the Mountain West Network. We'll come back in just a few moments on Aggie Radio for some final thoughts, some final synopsis, and some final stats from today's game. But Utah State is going to fall to 1-3 on Mountain West play after a loss, 63-54 to UNLV. Aggies drop a tough one to UNLV, 54-63 here at the Dee Glen Smith Spectrum. Utah State falling to 1-3 in conference play. Disappointing, really tough loss for Utah State. I say disappointing just because they lost. I don't say disappointing because of the way they played. Coach Finkbeiner, of course, he'd probably disagree. But I do feel like Utah State, a good effort overall as a team. Obviously the big, glaring, just absolutely horrible stat is you're outscored by Katie Powell. 25 points to a combined 2 between the Utah State post of Bassett and Mason. It's going to be just so tough to win any game like that where you're outscored in the paint, 26-12. We knew that Utah State's not a paint team. They're not a good defensive low post team. You expect them to score more in the post, though, than they did tonight. All credit goes to UNLV. I mean, so much credit for UNLV's defense in the post that just really shut down any Aggie offensive effort there. But, you know, the Aggies actually shot relatively well through much of the game. They finished at 34%. That's not great. But 38% from outside is way above what they've been shooting this season. The 34% went down. I mean, that dropped pretty dramatically towards the end. They were shooting closer to 40 for much of the game. They, held UNLV to 31% defensively. Utah State even made 80% of their free throws. Like, offensively, not a ton to hate outside of the post. UNLV just so good down there. And like Coach Finkbeiner said in that interview, like I've been alluding to all night, I really do believe that this UNLV team is going to be something special once they get clicking. They did this all without their starting point guard. Nikki Wheatley, just one of the, I think probably the second, third most talented player on the team, out with an injury. She'll be back here really soon. By the time that Utah State sees UNLV again, she'll be back for sure. And watch out for the Lady Rebels come tournament time. Anyway, final stats from tonight's game. Shannon Duffsey with 21 points. Great night for Shannon Duffsey. Good to see, especially with her parents here in the building all the way from Australia. So she was able to put on a show for them. 21 points, 8 rebounds, and an assist. Victoria Price with 10 points, 3 rebounds, though she did foul out right there at the very end. Brewster, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on her birthday. And back the other way for UNLV, Strother with 17, Johnson with 14, and Powell with 25 points, 11 rebounds. And that was just such a huge part to tonight's game. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have the Utah State men's basketball team back in action tonight. They're down in Vegas taking on UNLV. That's going to tip off. I believe earlier I said that it tips off at 7. It's actually tip off at 8 o'clock, but 7 o'clock will be the pregame show. So if you want to listen in, Scott Gerard down there with the call. He'll have that live at 7 o'clock p.m. That'll be on Aggie Radio as well as AggieRadio.com through the TuneIn stream on that site. But, again, thanks for tuning in to Aggie Radio, your home for Utah State women's basketball this season. We'll be back at it. Next game this coming Wednesday as the women are traveling out to Colorado. They're going to take on Colorado State. That's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. here on Aggie Radio. It will conflict with the men's game, which is also 7 p.m. against Colorado State here in Logan. So if you want to listen to the women's game, that will be stream-only broadcast. You'll have to tune in AggieRadio.com for that one. But there on the front page of the site, you'll see a streaming, a little YouTube stream. Click on that, and you'll be able to get the live feed from that. And then they'll be back at it next Saturday, again, back here in Logan to take on Nevada. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Jaden Johnson on the call. We'll be back at it coming up Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the men's game tonight. And as always, go Aggies.